I know you all at home go sneaking around on all of the websites with cool models and, in this case, cool terrain, and you look at all the stuff that you might want to buy, and occasionally you even sneak it into the shopping cart or trolley or basket or whatever it's called on that particular website. And I do the absolute same thing. And so, hi, I'm ED-SKaR, and I've been running a little series where I do exactly that. I set myself an imaginary budget of £50, and I go sneaking around the various websites and pick out the coolest £50 worth of stuff. And today we shall be looking at something a little bit different compared to what I've done before. Because rather than looking at cool models, I'm going to be looking today at Sarissa Precision and almost predominantly terrain, lots of buildings, Sarissa Precision being, of course, predominantly the MDF kit style of producer. Now, I feel, to be fair to Sarissa Precision, I need to come up front with my audience, you guys at home, and say that I do have a bit of a preconception when it comes to MDF kits. Whilst I recognise that there are certain shapes and certain styles that MDF kits really lean towards being very good, a lot of MDF kits try to do things that MDF can't do very well. Things like curves, things like highly detailed fine parts. And if we come across those during the course of this video today, just recognise that that's kind of preconceived notion for me, and that I might might pick on them a bit more negatively than is fair. And there's always the case with any model kit that you do have to build it, you do have to kind of go through the process of kind of cleaning up the manufacturing process, things like scraping off mold lines. And just like metal and resin and plastic are different, MDF is again just different. That doesn't mean it's worse, that doesn't mean it's better. What it does mean is that there's just things that MDF does very well and stuff that it doesn't do as well. But that's all out of the way now. Let's concentrate on the good stuff and look at some of the cool models that Sarissa Precision have. And I'm just going to get stuck straight in now and look at the different options. And as we see up the top here, you can just see it in frame there, we have different scales. I'm probably going to stick to the 28mm scale. I might have a quick look in some of the others, but 28mm, kind of 28-32 hero scale, that kind of thing is what I'm most familiar with. But there is also a new releases section, so let's have a quick look at what is coming out freshly and new on Sarissa Precision at the time of recording. So, well outside our £50 budget. Oh, I could get this one. I could just blow our whole budget on the one model here. That's actually a pretty good use of MDF, and we have some detail on the deck. Gun ports. I don't see any doors on the gun ports. I wonder what the freeboard would be on this type of ship. There seems to there are doors for the gun ports, but they're not shown in an open position. They're just shown removed. I guess it's just for the photographs. We can position those as we want. But I really shouldn't be focusing on this because this is not going to fit into our budget for today. That's pretty cool. Let's have a look at that. That's actually really nicely done. So, again, what I mentioned at the beginning, at the top of the video, stuff that MDF does really well is all of this woodwork. And I'm pretty sure a lot of this is painted on, but it works really well. And what they have done, you can tell in a few spots, the joining, kind of connecting tabs of MDF pieces, for those who haven't done that before, you get all these flat panels that you put together, and you have tabs that slot through, and where was it? There is an example of one. A little drape or a chain or something coming out of the bottom of the upper section would easily cover that. A flag, perhaps. Yeah, I'm keeping this on the shortlist because that is a really nice windmill. There's another big boat that could ruin our budget in one go. Right, enough of all that. Let's have a look through the actual sections that I wanted to look at. But we shall start with the streets of Rome. I can see how these pillars are constructed. There's essentially a disc at the bottom with square cutouts, and then just a bunch of square rods to join together to make that kind of shape. Surprisingly, that does work quite well from a distance. which is absolutely suitable for terrain. It doesn't necessarily have to face the same kind of close-up scrutiny that a model kit does, like the actual figures. If you've just filled it with, I don't know how well Milliput works with MDF kits, but fill it with something and smooth off in between to make a rounded surface, they would actually look pretty good. And we actually have a couple of different versions. This one, is this taller? I think this one is taller, it looks it. But we also have an example of it all connected together. So we have straight sections, we have corners, obviously we saw the first. Yes, it is definitely taller, that kind of using it as an entranceway there. Oh, and of course when it comes to pillars, if you have a spare miniature figure, you paint it grey and there you go, a nice little statue for the top. Ooh, that's an interesting thing. So treadwheel crane, for anyone who is not aware, is a big arm that lifts stuff with a rope, and the rope is connected to this treadwheel, which is big enough for people to get in and walk around on the inside, kind of like a hamster wheel but bigger. These were done human-sized, they were also done horse-sized. So you'd put a horse on the inside of this and let the horse slowly walk forwards, and it would wind up the rope, and you could end up lifting quite significant things, far more than you can just lift by hand. A nice thing for some set dressing. Speaking of construction, this is actually pretty interesting as well. This is the type of thing that makes for very good gaming terrain, because when you have a building, you often end up with the struggles of what count, like how do the rules change when you're inside and outside the building, and do you just treat it as a lump that blocks line of sight? Whereas with this type of thing, you can actually put models on the platforms and they can still see each other, so you can still have true line of sight. So mixing up a couple of these, not only does it add an interest to kind of a gaming table or a diorama in that you're having a building under construction, but you also, for gaming, have that practicality as well. Oh, would you look at that? Okay, I'm getting sidetracked with all the massive ships, because the big ships do look pretty cool. Look at that. Yeah. I should stop looking at, can we find a smaller boat? We in fact can find a smaller boat. And it looks really nice. This is the type of thing that MDF does really well. Oddly, wood makes for really good wood. Who knew? But it actually scales quite well with the planking. And for £12, this is something that might actually stick with us. I'm keeping this one on the shortlist. The shortlist will very quickly grow quite long. Chariots. Is this a set of 3? It is. So it contains, for £9, 3 chariots. It doesn't contain the horses, however. Again, this is mostly considered to be terrain rather than models, but I'm sure you could attach a couple of horses to it and have these being pulled. So there's a lot in this set as well. This is for kind of a little arena, a little mini coliseum. So we can have holding cells for gladiators and wild animals to be thrown in. We have the actual ring itself with straight sections. Let's have a look at a sample of it kind of all set up. Yeah, so you can have the audience sitting around, you can have cages. I'd probably not be interested in the cages, but just having this wall section. There's things I could do with that. Right, let's move on from Rome to the Dark Ages. That looks good. One thing I wish that they would do on Sarissa Precision is actually show what's included in the kit and what isn't, because I'm pretty sure all of this grass tuft and stuff on the top isn't actually included. It does say down here that the thatching material, which is a kitchen sponge scouring pad. Oh wow, okay, that's one way of doing it, which pretty much sells the effect exactly how you'd want it to. Can't really complain at that. Ooh, classic thing of, I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, it's made of, because MDF is all sheets of material, this is just a bunch of sheets. I don't necessarily, I would like to see what it would look like if it was evenly alternated, kind of like brickwork is. If it was done that way, I'd probably like it more. Oh, they're giving me boats again. It's the little boats this time. That's pretty cool, actually. The oars are just a single piece, so they look a little flat, and a real oar would have a rounded profile here. It's not that hard to whittle MDF to make it round, but I wouldn't want to do it on every single one of them. That would just take too long. I'd probably just, yeah, it's not a terrible thing, so I'd probably leave them as is. Oh, hello, it's Wargamers Atlantic. So, something that I've noticed a lot is that all of the Northampton companies sell the odd bit here or there of all of the other Northampton companies, except for one. Yes, let's ignore that and move on. Oh, nice trebuchet. Let's have a closer look at the trebuchet. So we have tread wheels again, because it's a massive trebuchet, and there is an option to have the figures as well included. Oh hey, we've got people in the tread wheels. I'd be probably getting this with the extra people, because they make it kind of, they're positioned and posed correctly for climbing up the tread wheels. That's cool. I like that. And we've kind of gone off into bigger sets, like bundle deals. So let's move on from the Dark Ages to Japan. Oh, this looks way better than that other cart that we had. Where's that other cart? You, go away. We want this one. I just killed that off. This looks, yeah, much more stylistic and the same price, and yeah, much cooler. Torai Gate. A little stereotypical, and particularly if you use too many of these, but yeah, a good option to have. Oh, that's interesting. Kind of shrine lanterns. They look pretty cool, actually. I like the way they've done it with just covering them in moss. Katana rulers with markings on. What are the markings? Yeah, so they're in inches, and a lot of war games are in inches, so that makes sense. It feels a little silly having this, but I'm going to keep this on the shortlist because it's just a fun little thing. I quite like these shrines. The Wako pirate ship. Yeah, again, when you look up really close, you can see the kind of simplistic shapes to it, but from a distance as a piece of terrain, that does look really nice. Maybe it's just because it's got red bits painted on it. Right, let's move away from Japan to old Europe. Destroyed East European. Just a little barn. I like this when it comes to MDF kits, because you can very easily have, and these interlocking parts for the two sheets here to join them together adds a lot of character and sells the scale quite well. These bits are where the roof attaches, and I don't think they're entirely necessary. You could do without those. So what a Gaibin is it's like a big wicker basket that you fill with dirt or sand as a defensive position. Another windmill. Where was our first windmill? I have no idea. It's already found it. So there's a lot of differences, but I'm noticing a lot of similarities as well between these two. I definitely prefer the one we saw at the beginning, although that might just be because it's pretty colours. But it also comes with a little side hut, which I really like. I think that I like the hut as much as I like the windmill, so I'll keep the first one. Not to say that this one isn't quite interesting as well. Madame Guillotin. So the seating doesn't look particularly good. Yeah, could do without that. The actual framework, it's a very simple shape. So we're getting a lot of repeated stuff. Oh, cannons. Hello. That's not an MDF. That's a great big mold line on that, or seam line. I mean, the cannon's barrel looks well enough, but the actual carriage, don't like that. Realistically, I probably should be looking at some of the actual just houses, because this is the classic thing that you really should be getting if you're doing a gaming table and you're getting MDF kits. Having quite a few just basic houses is probably where you want to start at. But also, I'm here looking for the coolest stuff, not necessarily the most practical and useful stuff. I just need to make sure that I at least have some buildings. Should I impose that as one of the rules for myself, is to have at least one building in at the end? It's a cute little house. Again, we've got that tin roof, which I think it's just the colour, because you paint tin roofs in a different colour to the stonework. So yeah, maybe it's just the colour variation that I like. But that's a cute little house. Let's keep that. Let's keep that, because that's nice. Here's another similar one, certainly thematically quite similar, but with a flat roof, so that you can, again, put models on the top. So quite well hidden there along is a join between the top and lower halves, so that you can separate and either have just a single bottom floor that's destroyed, or have a double floor still destroyed building. Oh, I like this one. That's pretty nice. So we've got framework here for creeping vines to grow, wall section, and village house, it says. Oh, it's a broken wall, that's why. Okay, that makes sense. I want to know how they've done the texturing to this, because I'm pretty sure that this would just be a flat MDF sheet. So this is actually a sticker, essentially, wallpaper with stone effect printed on it. And you know what? I don't hate that. That's a very quick and simple way, and I'm starting to see the repeated patterns on this, unfortunately. But because it's terrain, it doesn't have to look absolutely perfect. As long as it looks reasonable from arm's length, then it means that the models are going to stand out. And the models, you spend a lot of time making them look cool. And another windmill. Yay. Oh. Yeah, this... So those lines, very obvious lines going down there, that's not as convincing as I would like it to be, unfortunately. Oh, hold up. Before we get to the buildings, wagons and railways. I've been meaning to do a railway in 28mm scale for a while, but because there isn't an off-the-shelf option for track, I don't know how I want to standardize it. Because if I make a particular size and then all of a sudden some company comes out with a 28mm 1:56 scale railway track, my stuff's not going to match it. And that doesn't necessarily matter, but it's just that thing in my head, is just how big do I make it, exactly what scale and exactly what track gauge do I use. So yeah, actually I'm going to nerd out over it when we get to it, so let's skip over it for the moment. So here we go. Here's the Middle Eastern building style that I want for my British bolt action army. We have this kind of... It's quite an obvious crack, but there's a few other cracks to hide it, because you can actually lift the roof off and have it as a destroyed building. And it looks like, that big panel there is the floor of the roof. I'd probably want to end up texturing that in some way, and I'm not 100% sure how right now I would go about doing that. But yeah, let's keep that for the moment. I want to play airsoft here. That's exactly my kind of place. Ooh, so speaking of boats, as we have been a lot repeatedly throughout this section, how about a broken boat? Yeah, let's definitely keep that. That's a cool bit of terrain to dump on a riverbed somewhere. Oh, that looks cool. Derelict caboose, or brake van, guard van. I don't mind too much the joining sections, because they're not too obvious. But there we've got, yeah, I like that. Oh, and it has an interior as well, that you've got more broken boards on the inside. I like that. I like that. That can be next to our railway that I don't have yet. And we should definitely have some of these classic American big billboard buildings in the Western style. But then we also have just some nice simple... Yeah, we need to keep a few of these around. Depending on how we go at the end and the whittling down of options down to £50, these are all going to probably go away. But we'll keep a couple We need to keep a couple because we want the option of having them at the end. And that is suspiciously similar. It's not quite the same. It is a slightly different layout to a building that I did make a little while ago. That was a plastic model kit. This is a little bit cheaper, not by a lot though. Some bits look better and some bits don't quite look as good, so it is just a case of focusing on which bits you want to focus on. Let's keep that one for the moment as well. So we have a waterline monitor. So this is actually a boat, but this is the line of the water. It was a ship type that was very common in, I want to say throughout the 1800s, but it really died away before the end of the 1800s, I think. Where you had this heavily armoured ship or boat. It's generally fairly small boats, but this armoured river boat or coastal waters boat that had a lot of its hull below the water, and so the water itself is acting as more armour. It makes for a very small target. This very, very small freeboard means that you are not an ocean-going vessel at all, and so it's very limited as to what these types of vessels can actually achieve. A little passenger carriage. Do we get another picture? Nope, we only get this one picture. That's horse is definitely not part of the NDF kit. Yeah, that's a nice thing. Although this grand stagecoach is far more the Western style. Put your driver sitting up there, horses out the front. You'd need to hide some of the square profile bits, but that's not too difficult. Yeah, this is cool. I like this. I like that a lot. Let's keep that for our Western stuff. You know, or a hearse with. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to fight between those two, the stagecoach and the hearse. I feel like this one is cheating a little bit. Although it depends on how much is actually included in the kit. Because the gravestones, they're going to look pretty good. Like I've said, stone and concrete texture. The MDF texture works really well for that. And the fence you get, obviously that's part of the MDF kit. But most of this is flocking and ground texture that isn't part of the kit. Here we go. Here's some classic American kind of Wild West buildings. Which one do I want? I'm going to look just based on the thumbnail, and I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pick small building 1. Oh, now there's a classic thing. The tin water, in this case water pump, but the tin windmill. Very. I've seen this type of thing a lot in Wizard of Oz. I'm going to have to check and see if there is actually one in Wizard of Oz. It's my perception that there is, but that might be a false memory. It feels like a false memory. Oh, okay. So the ones that I were expecting to go in the North African section are in Mexico instead. I don't like that join there, but it's actually fairly easy to gap fill that. Once you glue it together, fill that up. That's not a problem. And I've just found a 2-story version, which is also cool, and even has interiors for both floors. Oh, you know that 2-story building that we saw? This might actually replace that, because this it's 1.5 stories. It's got the roof. That's a nice kit as well. It might be when we get to the end we have to fight between all of the different buildings of each type, and then fight between the winner of each type to see which one gets in our £50 budget at the end. So this is what we mentioned about that train, is that making a curved surface out of many discs versus making a curved surface out of scoring a flat sheet and wrapping it around. This actually does look fairly good because it kind of gives that effect of a ribbed metal which isn't how this type of thing would be made, but it's a believable shape. Oh, now that looks good. Okay, I'm going to add rusty old metal ducting and boxes to my list of things that MDF does well, because that looks good. I like that. It's a metal box, but I like it. That looks a little disappointing in comparison to some of the others. We've got cylinder made out of flat sheets again. We've got square profile things sticking out of wheels, and the blocks of joins. This is a scored sheet that's been bent around a corner, kind of a curve, but a far steeper curve than others, and so it's opening out. I'm not as much of a fan of this as some of the others. That's a shame. But then you have something like this that looks absolutely fantastic. Yeah, even the mechanism down there, it's hidden enough. There's enough detail there, and it's hidden enough that looks pretty good. That I like. Ooh, a crane of sorts. All of the cabling is in as MDF flat sheets, but that's really easy to replace with string. The hook is not detailed enough, so I'd want to replace that. But the body of it, like this roof cover, and the actual carriage of it, that's pretty cool. That's one I've seen before. I think I've seen this one on Warlord Games website. Okay, I was about to say there's less cylinders going on, but there are a couple. That actually doesn't look as bad because it's a stepped cylinder. But because this is more of a boxy shape, it suits the MDF a little better than some of the others. I think this engine is probably one of the better ones just for that reason. The rivets are great. Oh, hello, that looks cool. Water tower on a brick building. Is that all etched in? I think it is. So I much prefer this to that. I think it's just the contrast of styles, having the rusty metal box on top of a brick building rather than just a rusty metal box. And if you build it in the correct kind of way, you can actually probably separate. You can have it as two separate pieces, so you could put one on top of the other like this, or have them separate. Yuck. Oh no, they've made a complex cylinder rocket shape just out of many sheets. It's like if you 3D printed it, but your 3D prints were like 2 millimeters thick, layer height. Like the actual carriage without the missile on it looks pretty good, but the rocket looks awful. Here we go. Okay, so having a couple of slanted roof factory buildings with the skylights to let natural light in. Oh, and that's very Stalingrad tractor factory kind of look. Although, yeah, the MDF kit is starting to show its failings in this kind of. But it looks good from the kind of gaming distance, and you put a couple of tanks in there, and you put a bunch of infantry around the outside. That's going to look great on the gaming table. Unfortunately, it's one of the more expensive ones, so let's skip over it for the moment. Oh, that looks good. That looks great. Why was this not in the train section? Or maybe it was and I missed it. That's really nice. I like that. Yeah, so when it comes to trenches, particularly in wargaming, a real trench is obviously dug down into the ground, and so across the surface it would be relatively flat. Sometimes you have defensive mounds and other things part of it, but the point is that you're digging down into the ground. Doing that on a gaming board is difficult because you don't want to carve down into your actual table, and so what some people do is they get really thick blocks of foam to make a big gaming table and then cut into that. But the disadvantages there is that one, that takes up a lot of space for storage, and two, you can't really shift around the trench, and so whatever you make your trench as is pretty much what you're stuck with. And you can have modular sections, but you're still relatively limited in that. And so this type of trench, where it's completely above the ground and it's more of an earth embankment, it gives the impression of a trench when you're looking into it without it actually being recessed. And so these can be useful for practical wargaming, if not the more realistic look. And so that's definitely something that I appreciate. And we've got all of the wooden duckboarding on the inside, which looks pretty good. Yes. So you remember I said that MDF does some things very well and some things very badly. I think this is probably the worst application for MDF. Twin Oerlikon anti-aircraft gun and mount. This is a far more detailed object than you can really render in MDF. And so this just looks like a bunch of sticks. It does not look very much at all like it should. Like, these are supposed to be ammo poppers, and they're just lumps, they're Mickey Mouse ears. It's nice to try and push the envelope of what you can do in different mediums, but I think this one falls flat in terms of MDF kits. And after saying that, I've seen these trees, which you can almost jump at the same kind of thing to say this is not how trees look. Trees don't look great in this kind of flat profile. However, using this as a basis for flocking and having a big bushy flocky tree and using this as the framework, that actually does work quite well. Hey, Sarissa Precision, I know you're not watching this video at all, especially after I've just made fun of the detail of that Oerlikon kit. The Dugger Radar? The Dugger Radar would look great as an MDF kit. Please, can we have Dugger Radar? Actually, no, that really would look good as an MDF kit. Honestly, yeah, I think if I hadn't thought of it of using an MDF kit for the Dugger Radar, I'd probably try and end up making it from like the styrene I-beams, and I'd spend a million years on it, and it would never look like regular enough. The pattern would be wrong. But making that as an MDF kit, that would really very much be appropriate for that. Yeah, okay. So there are things that MDF kits do really well, and the Dugger Radar. Please make me a Dugger Radar for my Stalker games. This is interesting. So this is the V1, the Doodlebug launch ramp. And they actually sell, and there's an option here to have it with the Tamiya kit for the actual weapon itself. So it's 1/48 scale, so it's a little bit bigger, but that's actually it's about 10% bigger, so it's not that big of a deal. And the rail itself does work really nicely in MDF, and having a plastic kit for the Doodlebug, yeah, that's a good option. That's probably the way to go about it. Unfortunately, this is depicting like a war crime weapon, a weapon that was specifically designed to target civilians and not military installations, but it is definitely the sort of thing that I could see being used as an objective for an allied attack and defense style game. I'm not going to keep it for us today, but that's actually something I would seriously consider as a good piece of terrain, a good objective marker. Objective to like the bridging the gap between terrain and objectives. And we have destroyed small shop. This is the type of thing I was looking at. Nice little French village with a cafe and a little shop. This one can have an extra floor. I think I'd go without for this one. I want to find the actual cafe, and if we can have the chairs in the awning, like the little awning out the front with the little table and chairs in front, that would be cool. I hope we get that option somewhere on this website, but I don't think it's in this section. I think actually what I should do is cheat a little bit and use the search function and actually type in cafe. What options do we have for cafe? Oh, that is kind of sad that there isn't a cafe set, but we do have End of Terrace Cafe, although it really does just look like a house. It is a good one. Okay, Slightly disappointing, but there's good options for it. So it's a patrol boat, waterline patrol boat that doesn't actually have a lot of the extra minor details that wouldn't look good in an MDF kit. It just has the basic shape and some of the bigger details, which do look really good as an MDF kit. Because adding a couple of models, if I do end up getting... I may have mentioned in a recent video that I'm looking at getting a Japanese army for bolt action this year. It says down here Vietnam era, but that's not to say that this design doesn't predate that. It probably does, but how far? I'd have to look into it. But that's a good little boat. Good little boat. Oh, that roofing looks fantastic. That's definitely, but it's not on the. How have they done the? Oh wait, no. Okay, it is included or it isn't included. I'm confused. But so long as that roof design is included in the kit, that looks fantastic. That's really cool effect. And again, wooden walls, wooden floors, these banister things, they look great in MDF kit. This is fantastic. This is what MDF kits are good at. And so I'm definitely keeping that. And of course you could go for the full board setup to have. For £74 you could do a whole gaming board. That would be enough buildings for a gaming board. This is going to get expensive. I'm supposed to be here pretending to spend money, not actually planning to spend money. Oh, look at that cute little house. That looks great. And for £9, that looks really nice. I think I saw this a little while ago, but this has the same kind of jagged join that isn't quite visible. You can just about see it if you look for it, but then you can also split it open. Zona Alpha games, because you could have that as a split open building with a anomaly in the middle. That's cool. Okay, this is definitely, this one particularly. Oh, that looks cool. That's huge. How big is that? Yeah, I want that. It is more than half of our budget, so it's possible. Generally speaking, I've not been having stuff that's more than half of the budget, but it's not to say I can't. What does that say? Oh, it says tractor. It says tractor. Oh no. Children's play area. Yeah, that's definitely something that you should have in a zombie game at some point. Oh, interesting. So I have said many times today about how MDF kits making curved shapes doesn't necessarily work very well, but sometimes it does. This actually does work well, because this kind of caravan trailer, it could be intended to be a perfectly smooth, but it also could be faceted, like welded aluminium sheeting or kind of bent aluminium, perhaps. Okay, it's unrealistic that the window is folded like that. Oh, poor thing. But other than that, strangely, that does look quite good. Let's keep that. Let's keep that for the moment. Ooh, I like that. I think I like it because it's purple. It's cheating. Let's get rid of it. Paint it purple and I like it. Oh, here's a bigger version of it. And this is now painted rust. And I still like it. I think I prefer this than the half-ended one. Yeah, okay, I'll have to keep it now. That looks really cool. I can paint this one purple. I can get the bigger one and paint it purple. I'm allowed to do that. I can paint it whatever colour I like. Oh, look at that. Oh man, I've definitely been there in Stalker Call of Pripyat. The little boat with the anomaly around the steering wheel. You know the one I'm talking about. Well, anyone who's played the game knows what I'm talking about. The artifact on the steering wheel. That's cool. And again, this is stuff that MDF does very well. Sheet metal, rusty nastiness, and they've folded this to make that. I might replace that with a paper tube or a plastic tube or something. But yeah, that looks fantastic. That looks fantastic. I definitely want that. I'm going to put that right to the end of the list because that's definitely something I want. Oh, and there's another version of it not destroyed. How do they compare? How do they compare? It looks like they're the same, but that the wrecked one is probably just has different cuts at the bottom. I think I'll keep the tugboat, the normal not wrecked one, because I can make my own cuts to it to tilt it. Man, the way they've painted in the rust on this. Huh. And an electrical substation. Now that's not something I'd usually expect to see, but is actually kind of cool. But as gaming terrain, getting in there to fit to put the models in is just going to be fiddly and annoying. It's kind of like forests. We often make forests with movable trees, so that you say the base of the forest is the trees, but the actual individual models of trees can move around so that we can move our figure models into it, just as a practical case. And I probably want to do the same sort of thing here. Glue down the building and I'm not sure what piece of equipment that is next to it, but then all of the pylons, you could separate those and have them movable. Actually, that does make a lot of sense. And it looks cool, and it's not something I've seen before, so let's keep that. That's cheating. Come on. That's just a sheet. Oh, that's an interesting... Yeah, that's an interesting concept. Having a building also be a dice tower. This is not an uncommon thing. In particularly D&D groups have this sort of thing where it's a dice tower, so that you roll the dice through the tower rather than rolling it on the table. Keeps it a bit neater, stops certain people rolling in unfair ways, but it's more about keeping things neater and not knocking into the models with the dice. Hiding that as being a building is actually really cool. I like the graffiti they've done on this particular one. It's kind of a shame that you can see the slanted floors, so as you pour it in, as you put the dice in the top, they fall down these slopes, and that just, it doesn't look good that you can see that from the outside. There's definitely a way of making an inner frame with angled platforms that doesn't cut through to the outer wall like that. And oh, I've just noticed the building corners. Oh, the building corners stick out in a way that brick walls don't stick out. That's okay. I've gone off this now. I'm noticing the things that I don't like. Yeah, it's the same here. Oh, I love that, like, inlet on the corner. That looks cool. This is definitely outside of our £50 budget, but oh, that is so cool. That's the one I want, but I'm not going to be able to get it today, unfortunately. Here's another one that seems to just be a flat sheet, but if it's got the hex pattern in it, that does really help it. Another one for Stalker and Fallout type of games. And actually those fuel pumps actually work pretty good in MDF. The little sign. Yeah, this works really nicely. Ooh, spooky house on the hill vibes here. Oh, very Addams Family. One of the bigger kits, £35, but it looks like it's multiple floors. Unfortunately, I think I'm not going to keep that for the moment. For our shortlist, but it is a cool kit. Okay, so the aluminium APC. The wheels. The tracks. That's a shame. That's a shame. That nearly works quite well, but it would need quite a bit of greebling and detail work on that, I think. Lambda Sector monorail? Is there a Half-Life stuff sneaking in? Ooh, what's that? Lambda Sector? Okay, that definitely doesn't look Half-Life to me, but that's nice. Teleport pad. Oh, are these the same pods as we got that destroyed version? Somewhere in my long list of stuff tabs that I've got open. Hiding the seams in the MDF kit by painting them bright orange is an odd way of doing it, but that's pretty stylish. for a science fiction setting, that does look pretty good. Ooh, I like that. You could almost do this in a modular way so that you could have the building just on the ground rather than on this strut. Again, it's about options and practicalities for gaming, but I actually do like the style of that. Oh, now I've seen some of these before. These are used in Warlord Games Judge Dredd. I actually do really like the style, like these buttresses almost with the different kind of the door and the shutter on it. Let's keep that. Which versions are there? I mean, I'm quite happy with the smallest one. Let's keep the smallest one on the list. Ooh, what's that as well? That's a really cool design of roof. So GAR would be one of the factions from Gates of Antares. Yeah, I like that as well. Let's keep that one. Oh, that's definitely staying. That's cool. This is, I'm going to use the word whimsical. This is wonderfully whimsical. Isn't that just lovely? Look at that. Burrows and I wonder what Burrows and Badges is. That sounds like a game system. There is actually a Burrows and Badges section of subtly. Hello, that hut was part of the. Okay, I'm gonna have to compare. And so there are actually other versions of this little hut. These are so cute. I love this. Whatever Burrows and Badges is, I'm definitely gonna have to look into it because that's. The building style from Sarissa Precision is very cool. The wonky buildings, these big ones, and the cute little huts. I like that a lot. And I think that is the lot for the website. And so I now have to go through. Oh boy, this is going to take a long time. That is a long list, and it has been a long time since I started recording. This is going to be a long edit, but I need to go through and pick out all of the ones that I really want and narrow it down, whittle it down to £50. Now, I have said in some of the previous videos in the series that I might not want to put in the whittling down process because I think people would be bored by just me kind of going back and forth on it. But I put up a community vote recently, and overwhelmingly the vast majority of those that voted wanted to see the whittling down. I think it was something like 80% in favour, 85% in favour of keeping the whittling as part of that. And so let's get started with that. And I think the first step, as with any time I do this is kind of always my first step, is to separate out anything that's kind of £20-25 or more, because with a £50 budget we obviously can't have more than one thing that's more than £25. And so I'm just going to go through absolutely every single one, of which there are many, and pull all the ones that are more than £20 to one side, and we'll pick just one of those. So the whimsical haul just scrapes through at 19. I did like this one, but I think I'm going to drop the orbital transmitter for now. Oh, that one was cool. Okay, so the tractor plant is £27. The big wacko pirate ship. Waco? Cool as it is, I think I'll skip over it. I definitely, even though it's supposed to be like a riverboat sort of thing, I think making this as a gantry between building sections, like a skybridge kind of thing, that would be really cool style. But not for today. The trebuchet was one of the more expensive ones as well. I'm happy to drop that as well, I think. Cool kit, but there are other cool kits. The building under construction, I think I will keep that one. Okay, so just scanning through those, there's only two that were more than 20 quid, and it's the corner under construction and the tractor, Stalingrad tractor factory. I think the tractor factory can drop because why? I don't know. There's more detail in the building under construction. I think this is a bit more flat, which actually does work really well for MDF kits, as one of the things we keep mentioning. Concrete and stone and big flat-sided buildings work really well in MDF kits. Right, so the second round is to look at the mid-priced stuff. So I guess what I'll do is I'll throw everything that's should we say £15 or more? So this was £24. So we can fit something that was 15 and something that was 10, just as an example. So yeah, let's go for £15 or more, and let's throw that over to the side. The electrical substation, there's options there for gaming, for making a system, and certainly you could base these pylons up separately and have a long run across the table. That would look pretty cool, but I think I'll drop that as well. The Burrows and Badgers hall is definitely going to stay for the moment because that is cool. I did like the stanchion building. This is from Gates Venturi's. I liked the style of that, but it's nowhere near as nice as the Badgers bungalows and whatever it was. So let's drop that. Oh, the kids play area. Creepy set. I probably will end up, now that I've seen this, I probably will end up making something like this, but let's drop that for now. And the caravan, I was talking, again, I opened this to talk about the styling of it, and this actually works really well in MDF kit, but not something I was actually interested in getting. The radar array, that was, yeah, let's drop that. There's far more interesting things out there. The Adobe Cantina, which I did like. So another one for more than 15 is the Old West passenger wagon, which I did like. This is definitely something I'd consider having, particularly from Sarissa Precision in 28mm scale. There's a whole bunch of railway stuff, but I don't think for today. Stone Cottage. We've got a lot of small houses, and I think there are better options than this one because it doesn't have the roof. That's separate, and the stonework here, I see what they were going for with it, but it's just not what I prefer, and there are other better ones out there. This one was very nice though, and although this is kind of a blank wall that they've put the paper over for the stone effect, that means that you have a blank canvas almost to do different stone effects. So let's keep that one for the moment. £17 was a house with a porch and stone chimney. This one is good. This one I like. But we've got a lot of the smaller versions of this, or similar houses to this in smaller, that we can fit in. So let's drop that for the moment. Did I keep the windmill? The kind of Kansas windmill? No, let's drop the Kansas windmill. The Adobe jail. We're going to have a fight between the Adobe jail and the canteen. In fact, we are going to have a fight between the two-story house and the canteen. And the canteen is definitely winning in this one. No, I don't know. For whatever reason, I don't need to give my reasons. I'm going to get rid of the two-story and keep the canteen. Oh, I've lost my place. Oh no. Where were we? There we go. The Adobe jail is where we were. Just less than 15, so... Oh, but the... that's definitely staying. The geisha cart. There, let's drop you as well while we're here. As much as I like some of the boats, I think we're getting... There are other boats that I'd prefer, and for £15 there's other buildings that I'd rather have over this boat. Yeah, and so there we go. For the second bracket price, for the top bracket price, we've got the corner under construction. And having a look at some of the stuff we've got after that, I don't think that's going to be staying. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the 15 to 20 category. Signal box, very nice. The hall, Burrows and Badgers hall, very cool. Love that. Destroyed small shop. It's good, and it's the type of thing that I do want a couple of for the World War II games, Bolt Action particularly. I think I can drop that because it just ain't it ain't the whimsical hall. Oh, the Adobe Cantina I like more than the Mediterranean Village House Corner. Although as nice as that is, I think I'll drop that. Let's drop the House Corner. Oh, now it's getting painful because I need to drop something that I like right now of this selection. Oh, I do not want to get rid of the Burrows and Badgers windmill and the Burrows and Badgers hall. That one very much winning just because of the style. Loving the style of it. I like the cantina, but it's not as good. Off you go. I did like both aesthetically and practically all of the wooden boarding for this one, the building under construction, but it's not as good. So off you go. And so now it's the two Burrows and Badgers buildings and the signal box, which are all more than £15. So we might be able to have two of them. We might just be able to have two of those and maybe one other cheaper thing. So let's go through the cheaper things and see how much of that we can whittle down and how much we maybe want to consider before I get rid of any more of these more expensive things. Absolutely keeping the tugboat. Roman chariot, they were nice. Not really as interesting. Roman trade ship, again, nowhere near as good. I think in terms of boats, if we keep it down to one boat, the tugboat's winning at the moment. So let's get rid of the Roman trade ship. Lantern and ruler set, I just thought that was funny. I'd like the lanterns and the kind of measuring ruler katanas, kind of interesting. Oh, we had the stagecoach and the hearse. The stagecoach definitely wins. It's a really cool design. So let's get rid of the hearse. Keep the stagecoach for the moment. That's a nice little hut, nice little house, but again plain. And we're starting to get some really fancy, nice things. So the plain stuff is less interesting, even though practically I do want a few of the more boring buildings. Oh, I did like the ghost buildings though, the derelict and kind of leaning over stuff. Oh, the caboose definitely was my favourite of that lot though. The wrecked, kind of just the frame almost of the wooden boat. Yeah, we can drop that. It's certainly a nice thing to have. I kind of have it in my head to do like a marsh or a river side for a board with a few of the things that we've seen today. Right, let's order these by price, most expensive down to cheapest, and let's see just how much we would have to cut away. And somehow I think my video is lagging. I don't know why, because it's wired. I shall attempt to keep an eye on that and hopefully not ruin the end of the video. So the windmill is our most expensive thing, £22. We can drop the... Yeah, we can drop the railway car. I like it, but the other things definitely want to keep the other things more than that. Prickly Jane's Cottage, the little Burrows and Badgers building is probably going to go, but I might need to swap it out for the windmill. So it's kind of half gone, but not quite, just because I need to swap it out. Well, unfortunately, there will be a bit of a jump cut in the video there, because I think that flickering that I was noticing with the camera is because my camera was overheating. I had been recording for 3.5 hours, and given how long this video ends up being for you guys, you can see how much effort I've had to put into editing it to cut it down. I did manage to sort out £50 to whittle it down to £50 of models, of terrain pieces in this case, and to kind of shorten the last section of the whittling process, which has obviously been lost because of the flickering camera. What I noticed is that the Barton Longtail Windmill being £22 and quite a few of the other options being £14, I can fit 2 lots of 14 and 22 makes 50. And so I kept the Barton Longtail Windmill as my slightly bigger choice. And for the first of my £14 choices, I went with the tugboat. This is the upright one, not the decrepit one. I love the way that this is painted, the rust effects, and that really does well, and it's taking advantage of the shapes of MDF kits. I do suspect that the front of the hull here is scored on the inside to allow it to be folded, but again, that kind of, you can just about see the paneling in that. I think it does add to the effect of a kind of sheet metal built boat, and once you've done all the effects, all of the rust and moss and grime and other things from being abandoned in a river, that'll look fantastic. The other one, torn between a few options, but I did eventually pick the ED-SKaR entrance. I love this design of the roof, the different kind of layered pattern with the ribs as well. And we've got this kind of stylistic entranceway, the door and the design on it. It looks pretty good. But if you just separate out the panels in different colors, it's going to look great. But then you can, of course, kind of weather it much more heavily, add some moss and vines growing up the sides. You could really have a lot of fun with that. And going back to what I said at the very beginning of the video, there are some things that MDF doesn't necessarily do well that I don't like in MDF, but there's so many things that MDF does do well, and I think I'm quite pleased with myself that I've gone through this, I've enjoyed the process, and actually finding those things that I really do like in MDF. And so I probably should pick up some of these kits at some point. For you, all of you at home, and I'm realising that this flickering is getting even worse, so I'm going to just quickly do an outro and then we'll kind of leave the video there. But for anyone at home, if you would like me to have a look at some of these MDF kits, actually pick one up and put it together. I've done an MDF kit in the past, but it was by a different company, so doing a Sarissa Precision would be nice to compare them. Not necessarily the ones that I've picked for my £50, but if there's some of the other ones that kind of made the shortlist that you think are interesting, let me know in the comment section below. Also in the comment section below, let me know if there are other websites that you'd like me to look at in this series. I have a few, and about half of the list of ones that I have to go are from comment suggestions. So let me know of the other websites that I can look at for this series. It can be terrain, it can be model kits, anything around the wargaming, mini painting space I'd be interested in looking at. But for now, thank you very much for sticking with me for what is almost certainly a very long video. These do tend to just get longer every time, don't they? Well, with an imaginary £50 spent, I can finish the video there. I am ED-SKaR. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.